This is my division, and no matter how much confidence he got, this is my division, and I'm about to show the world and stamp it come June 27th. That's what I've been waiting for, and being on a big stage, and y'all know when a big fight is in hand, y'all know I come alive when a big fight is in hand and the stakes is high. That's when I shine my best.
Boots Ennis just promised to knock Xander Zayas out. The rising Puerto Rican star is walking straight into a career-altering nightmare fight for Zayas.
The rest of my abilities and put on a beautiful show and a beautiful knockout.
It's a certain stigma that certain fighters have around them when they compete, and you have that. Roy Jones had it, Pernell Whitaker had it, Meldrick Taylor had it at one time, and what it is no matter who they fight, regardless of the competition, it's just not going to be enough for the people. And I believe that Xander Zayas has a lot of qualities, but I also believe a lot of your qualities can make him look how you've made a lot of your other opponents look. You being extremely transparent, what do you see Xander Zayas like? What do he do good to you that could give you problems, but when you just watch him, you say, okay.
He's definitely a solid fighter. He a unified champion for a reason. So, he a good fighter. I feel like he's getting better, but I'm about to show the world why it's really levels and why I'm really different like that. You know what I'm saying?
Not just Zayas, Boots is coming to take over the entire 154 divisions. He is a 23-year-old fighter coming for every belt in the room.
That's what I keep telling everybody, 154 tour, It's whatever with anybody and everybody. I'm ready, like I said, I'm ready to take over this division. I'm ready to take what's mine, take them belts.
Okay. Another fight.
As the focus shifts to what comes next, Boots has his eyes locked on one man right now. But after June 27th, once he's unified champion at 154, he promises to show why he's the best.
My main goal right now is Xander Zayas. We're not worrying about nobody else right now. But after I'm victorious on June 27th, and I become unified weight division champ, at 154. Bring them on. I'm gonna show. Like I said, I don't want to say repetitive, but I'm gonna continue to keep saying that. After this fight, I'm gonna continue to show y'all why I'm the best in the world and why I'm really like that. I'm gonna make everything easy. Y'all gonna see.
Looking at the confidence behind that mindset, his trainer and father, Bozy Ennis, has watched his son dismantle movers before. He insists that Boots doesn't struggle against anyone.
People were saying that Boots struggles against fighters that can move.
But no, he don't struggle against nobody. Boots makes his mind up. So Boots didn't really want to fight that guy that second time around, man. You see what he did the first time, wouldn't he? Second time, his mind wasn't really in on it at that time. You know what I mean? He wasn't even in on it at that time. You know what I mean? Because we didn't want, what the fuck we had to fight him for again? We didn't beat him every round last time.
Taking that confidence a step further, Bozy said his son has never needed to reach another level yet because no one has forced him there. Now, as Zayas approaches, he hopes that this fight will finally take his son to another level in this sport.
But matter of fact, you know what? I don't even pay attention to what people say, man. Some of these guys that's running their mouth never fought a day in their life, never had a street fight, man. So, let them keep on running their mouth. And then you got all them haters out there, though, you know what I mean? They don't want to see nobody making it anyway. You know what I mean? So that's my words back to them. Then I'm glad my young boy stepped up. He stepped up to the plate. You know what I mean? And it should be a good little fight, like I said. It should be a good fight. He can box. You know what I mean? He's a good fighter, man. You can't take nothing away from him. People talking about this and talking about, but I think he's a good fighter.
And with that challenge now on the horizon, Boots has fully settled and feels surrounded by top names and big challenges. Now, as his June 27th fight approaches, he insists that he will knock every contender but for Xander Zayas or anyone else at 154. This isn't just a fight, it's walking into Boots' division, where he's planning to go back-to-back on his path to being undisputed.
Like I said, I'm in a great space. I feel great about, the 154 position right now, and I'm glad, everybody, it's a lot of top guys and a lot of big names at this weight division, and I'm just excited. I'm ready to, like I said, I'm ready to take over the division one by one. I'm gonna knock them down one by one and show the world why, like I said, why I'm the best. And like I said, this is my division, and
Stepping back into the broader stakes of the division, Max Kellerman sees the names lining up at 154, Zayas, Ortiz, and Fondora. Now, with Boots Ennis on the verge of running the table, Kellerman argues something bigger than just belts is at stake.
Come up in the world, right? but you have Virgil and Fundora out there, and now you're in a position where if you run the table in this division, you become not only a 2-division Ring Magazine champion, haven't been too many of those in the history of boxing, actually. Forget about all the sanctioning bodies in junior division. I mean, like, the real champ of 2 divisions. And you would get to add these names to your resume that would cross you over from being a guy that's where people are like me, go, man, Boots is really good. I like what I see. I need to see him in there with top guys, to a guy where you did it, you ran things, and now you finally arrived.
On the other side of the conversation, boxing trainer Floyd Schofield Sr. is picking Xander Zayas to win on June 27th. He's seen Zayas in camp with his son Kid and knows Zayas and Kid have been friends since they were kids. For anyone doubting Zayas, Schofield Sr. says he's very skilled and every champion around him has been ready.
You know I gotta go with Zayas. Kid got Zayas ready too. We've been in the ring with all of them. Everybody. I got footage of him and Zayas trading and everything else. So every champion, Kid got ready. Damn near around him. So we going with Zayas. Plus Zayas, they knew each other since kids. They've been friends since kids. You know, we've been in about 2 camps with Zayas. Zayas was in the camp with us with Adrian, Broner, and Tank. So it's a small world in the boxing.
With deeper insight into his camp, Schofield has insider knowledge of Zia's long history with his coach, who knows his game intimately. Now, as the fight approaches, he insists that critics are missing a key danger in Zia's game. If opponents overlook that hidden weapon, they risk walking into a shockingly bad night.
Zaya's got a great coach that he's been with since day one. So this guy knows his fighter like the back of his hand. So I believe that he could pull it off, but it ain't gonna be easy. It ain't gonna be easy because Ennis can move. And Zayas don't move a lot, but Zayas could crack. That's what I think they sleeping on. They don't know Zayas could crack. When he really want to fight, he could fight. He could fight. So they could sleep. If they sleep on him, they'll be in trouble. If they don't sleep on him and they put that work and they take this shit, like if they fight in Virgil or somebody, they could pull it off.
From a wider promotional angle, Eddie Hearn admitted he never expected the fight between Xander Zayas and Jaron Ennis to materialize, even expressing surprise when Zayas went ahead and signed the contract. Nevertheless, he gives Zayas full credit for taking a different path, emphasizing that facing an elite talent like Boots is exactly the kind of challenge a young fighter needs to reveal just how many levels remain for him to climb.
But when they told me that Zayas was interested in the fight, I said, no way. It doesn't matter whether Zayas is interested. Top Rank won't let him fight Boots. And honestly, I could not believe it when he signed the contract. And it worries me a little bit because I just think, why? And listening to him there, he shows you why. Because he wants to prove he's the best. We need to celebrate that. But this feels like Mayweather-Canelo all over again. This generational great who's going too early. But you have to give him his props. But this guy is different, and he will show how many more levels he's got. But he needs great fighters like Zayas to bring that out of him.
Furthermore, Xander Zayas has built his unbeaten run believing he is the best, a mindset that makes the daily work easier. Now, as fight night closes in, he insists that he isn't proving anything to outsiders, only pushing himself. The real proof will come when he steps in the ring and validates his own belief again.
Knowing that I'm the best, and understanding that when you understand that, it's simple to get the work done. It's simple to push yourself harder and harder every single day because there's nothing to prove to nobody. It's something to prove to yourself. And I'm going to do it one more time. I'm going to prove myself right.
Focusing in on the stylistic edge, former professional boxer Winky Wright has seen how deep the division runs and knows top fighters can't avoid each other forever. Now, as Zayas and Ennis prepare to meet, he expects that true greatness requires beating elite opposition, not just piling up wins. If either man wants to prove his real level, this is the exact kind of fight he must take. For both Xander Zayas and Boots Ennis, this isn't just another matchup, it's the kind of test that separates contenders from the greats.
It's gonna be a good fight, man. The division looking good right now, and I just want to see all the fighters fight each other, man. The best need to fight the best. That's what's gonna bring the fans to boxing, and you can only be great by beating somebody great. You know what I'm saying? You can have a bunch of wins with no great win. You're just a good fighter, but you want to be great, you need to beat another great fighter. So they got the opportunity, and I hope they do it.
However, former boxer Raul Marquez has seen Boots Ennis evolve firsthand from his Showtime days, noting his level changes, stance switches, and combination punching. Now, as the matchup with Xander Zayas approaches, he argues that Zayas hasn't faced the same caliber of opposition. That missing step up in competition could leave Zayas overwhelmed by Boots' angles and power.
You know, Xander Zayas, he's a good fighter. He's Puerto Rican. He's done what you have to do to get to this point, but he hasn't fought the level of opposition that Boots Ennis has fought. Boots Ennis has fought better competition. I remember covering him when I was on Showbox on Showtime. I was very impressed by his style, the way he changes levels, the way he changes stance, from different angles. He's hitting you from here, he's hitting from there, he's there, he's in and out. His combination punching, when he sits down on his shots, he's got power.
Building on that assessment, Marquez has watched Zayas benefit from careful matchmaking to collect his belts at just 23 years old. Now, as the hypothetical question of cornering Zayas against Boots Ennis arises, he asks what the real game plan would be. That silence after the question hints that even a seasoned analyst struggles to find a clear path to victory.
I think he's just another level. I think it's an easy fight. I think it's an easy fight for Boots Ennis. But it's a good fight for Xander Zayas. He's still young. He's 23. He does have the belts. Maybe that's why he's had good matchmaking. Maybe that's why the fight is happening. It's good for boxing. People want to see fights like that. I think they're the biggest names available that have titles to fight each other. But you also got Sebastian Fundura at 154.
Yes.
I'm very impressed by him. I think he's the guy at 154. He's one of the top guys. I would love to see him and Boots Ennis.
From a technical breakdown standpoint, Coach Bredman still views Jaron Ennis as operating on a completely different level, bringing heavier punching power, quicker footwork, sharper counters, and a far more authoritative jab. At the same time, he acknowledges Xander Zayas as a tricky left-hand dominant fighter who thrives as a counterpuncher, setting subtle traps and firing back at sharp angles. From his perspective, this matchup goes beyond raw ability. It comes down to timing, discipline, and who can seize control of the exchanges when it matters most.
But I do think that there is a significant difference in talent. I think Boots is punch harder, he's faster, he's more reactive, he's more twitchier, he's a better counter puncher, he has a better jab. I didn't see one thing that Xander does better than Boots. And Boots, they criticize his defense, and I'm not saying anything bad about Xander. I don't want you to take that like that. But he kind of has a large head. He gets hit really clean. I watch his fights and his head snaps back a lot. And I just look, I said, damn, they criticize Boots. Boots gets hit with single shots.
Building on that, Bredman also argues that Boots is actually the stronger defensive fighter, despite criticism that he gets hit too often. In his view, Zayas' movement-heavy style, while effective in spurts, will likely sap his stamina against someone with that kind of pressure and power. As a result, he struggles to find a realistic path to victory for Zayas unless something unusual happens, like a clash of heads or a disqualification.
So I think that Boots is better defensively than Xander. And I think that because of Xander's style, I think that it's going to be very energy depleting for him to have to move like that all night against somebody with the kind of firepower that Boots has. So I know that Xander might look bigger, but Boots is a strong dude, man. He can punch. Unless it's like some kind of freak accident, like a headbutt or like a weird disqualification or something, I don't see how Xander going to win this fight. He may could go the distance if he moves all night, but I just don't know if he's going to be able to keep his stamina up, having to move like that in front of a guy that's that dangerous.
Now, according to Chris Algieri, who has studied the defensive holes Boots showed against Karen Chukadjian, now as the unified title fight approaches, he believes that if Boots fights anything as he did in those two rematches, Zayas will box his socks off. That blueprint is exactly why the 23-year-old champion chose this fight in the first place. For Boots Ennis, this isn't just another step up, it's the night his bad habits finally get exposed.
Xander Zayas, who is very young, 23 years of age. 23 wins, no losses, no draws. 13 wins by way of knockout, 5'10" with a 74-inch arm reach. Xander Zayas is very confident in this fight, for this fight. And Chris Algieri believes that the flaws that Jaron Boots Ennis has on defense is the reason Xander Zayas, at 23 years of age, is choosing this fight, because those are the holes he sees. And Chris Algieri, he says, if Jaron Boots Ennis fights anything close to how he fought when he fought against Karen Chugajan in those 2 fights, he's going to get his socks boxed off.
Another boxing analyst has watched Boots Ennis carefully assess Zayas in recent interviews, noting his confidence in ending the fight early. Now, as the analyst interprets Boots' words and body language, he warns that Boots genuinely believes Zayas hasn't seen his level of speed or power before. If Boots is right, Zayas won't just lose, he'll be pulled into deep water with no rounds left to learn to swim. For Xander Zayas, this isn't just a litmus test. It's the night a young contender finds out if he belongs or if he's simply been managed.
Jaron Boots Ennis did an interview with Brian Fonseca. I'm not really familiar with him, but one of you guys sent me his interview, and he talks about this could be an early night for him versus Xander.
I think it's the toughest fight that you've had so far of everybody.
Every time they say that this is my toughest fight, it'd be the easiest. So they said Stanley was gonna be the toughest fight. I made it look easy.
So it's not Stanionis.
They saying Xander gonna be the toughest fight. I make it look easy. Just say it.
Looking closely at the preparation behind the scenes, Blue has witnessed Boots' defense rise to the level of world-class fighters in the gym, even as critics point to the Karen fights as proof of flaws. Now, as June 27th approaches, he insists that Algieri's prediction only holds if Boots fights that same uninspired rematch. But he knows Boots has another gear. If that gear shows up, Zayas won't be boxing anyone's socks off. For Boots Ennis, this isn't just a title shot, it's the night he proves the gym version is the real one.
Chris Algieri also stated he could be too overconfident, too braggadocious, and get clipped. I just think that's just who he is. Flashy, flamboyant. You see his ring outfits, his attire, right? But I believe Jaron Boots Ennis' defense will show up in the biggest moments. And I could be wrong, but I know he has that tool.
And as the fight draws near, he has heard critics call Boots too confident and watched Zayas talk his own share of emotional fight talk. Now, as the first round looms, he argues that there's no such thing as overconfidence in a life or death sport like boxing. Dismissing Boots' belief as arrogance ignores that Zayas hasn't faced anything close to this level of threat yet. For Xander Zayas, this isn't just a title defense against a confident challenger. It's the moment the talking stops and the truth lands flush.
A lot of people picking Xander, surprisingly. To each his own. But I'm not. I'm picking Boots. I'm rocking with Boots here. And again, you're free to do whatever you want to do. I also found it weird, and I made a separate video, but like Chris Algieri, he was like, Boots is too confident. What? Too confident? There's no such thing as being too confident in a sport that's life or death like boxing. So I don't subscribe to that. And how are you going to say that Boots is too confident when Xander Zayas is like, he makes a lot of mistakes. He fights too emotional. Xander is talking the same type of talk in his own way.
What happens when speed, power, and rising dominance collide inside the ring? Two undefeated forces are on a collision course. Boots Ennis versus Xander Zayas. This fight could help define the next generation of boxing. Jaron Ennis has been tearing through the welterweight division with elite footwork, knockout power, and the rare ability to switch stances seamlessly, making him one of the most dangerous fighters in the sport today. On the other side, Xander Zayas represents the new wave. Young, composed, technically sharp, and increasingly confident as he climbs toward elite competition. The matchup raises key questions. Can Zayas handle Ennis's pressure and power, or will Ennis impose his will early? Will Zayas' technical approach slow the pace and create openings, or will he be forced into a fight he doesn't want? One fighter is likely to leave with enhanced status, while the other may face new challenges. If you enjoy boxing breakdowns and fight analysis, be sure to like, subscribe, and share your prediction on who comes out on top in this compelling matchup.